Hello, this is a recording from Darian from Santa Fe Family at 2022-7/23, and I wanted to do something pretty much associated with the first segment on the contact of this, that I expect that I'm on the siege of my existence being something against me. So, anyways, I have the water heater right here, and so if somebody knew a behavior technician was responsible for whether I had pushed my water system, then it would be on the option of knowing the selection of what I had done to the behavior of knowing who was at the choice of operating the consumer's energy state select residual technologies, that they would have chosen that selection of the option, so they would have committed battery. Or if they didn't, if they didn't. So pretty much the most likely thing was battery right there. Pretty much, I had a visit from Nick Davis and Jake Mitchell, and Jake Mitchell was the person who answered on the eToro, and soliciting battery by not defending what I had there was that. So then I'm gonna go take that to civil court when I can, or I was metaphysically asking for an arrest on just the identity of myself, so I can get the proof that something that exists. Because even if somebody has enough information on the Marwin of my computer, then it would be enough to be the information that I was seeking to say. Well, I know it's embarrassing. Well, not embarrassing. It's just myself, as explanatory on the raggediness, and then when I can get the lift up on, I was talking about something else, but let me continue on that. So that the 2500 was not returned on Echoes, and that Adam Shashin. So let's see if I can find all this stuff first before looking horrible to try to make my point, which I can still make. Then I will do that. So yeah, that's what a criticism for having a house twice as big as yours. Okay. Anyways, what is this? So Adam Shashin of Echoes had tried to make a conversation, and I don't know what kind of adult in a profession of customer representative like an Echoes, some crazy blood diamond nobody yelling in a background of a sapphire service of justifying the volume inside of some kind of Bitcoin garbage that that I'm gonna deal with, and that I'm gonna electrocute if I can, if I can get powers or something. Anyways, let's see which emails are the most relevant here. I know the grayling of that is pretty bad, but I swear I will switch it to Robert Graham, and then the explanatory of the metal to do that, especially at job, to kind of, it's not like the overture of what I would see on that, but it's kind of that I'm showing what the speculative plan is on this side of that, so you can get an insight without soliciting battery or belligerence by what you think that Jake Mitchell's job is to go and do something and stand around people like Kelly Decker at 403 Butternut. So Kelly Decker decided to respond by saying something: if you need to dispute and any debits to your account, you can contact this dispute number, which she said, I wanted to check in and ask your accounts how are doing, where I had moved all the money from the accounts to different banks. I'd say the same thing. The accounts distinguished. Wait, what did I say? I said, I'd say the same things. I've found this of what was attempted to make sure the parents' money was protected in conflicted trial at the coincidental third 10K at the areas toward Binance US, which I was hoping to settle with them. It seemed like a claim dispute of a missing suggestive amount of 2K and whatever the refund process hostage or whatever, not much else. So then I saw that as, the Fifth Third had attempted to see that supervisor or whatever 56. So I decided to call Zealand's high school, and then I had asked if she had a real identity, which on that I privating that whether that they had a real identity, because on their white card search they were unfindable, so they didn't really have a real name registered, which it was recommended that they switch to that school, the Zealand school. And I can see that by how you could see the overture of the face, and that there is facial recognition technology, that saying that I was Jake Mitchell would be like the soliciting of the conspiracy of to assume that I was Jake Mitchell to mask that, and it's done way too professionally, and it's like, if I had spent all that time, all those years to save up to invest, and then I was that good, and that you had stolen a third of me, then you're going to, I'm going to be an a-hole, and I will be harmful to others for that. That is beyond the normalcy of everything that I have done to do something. So that's kind of how I see that. How can you see that what somebody has done for whatever as hard as they can do to not have the rewards of that? So we look at this, let's see if we can. So HO-1110281287773246764 claim, and yeah, like the processor on this, and again, sorry for not creating the faceted of that. It's just the energy of what presumes that on what you try to, that you're soliciting battery on where I'm better than you is kind of where I don't know. I don't know what device, if it John's Manziel's, it's not okay to commit battery. It's kind of illegal. I'm kind of pointing to every illegal word I can say. And so Beth Stein. So I told her that Beth Stein was the Farm Bureau insurance person. An assist of 2,500 claimed to stay out of the water pancake, where I called and they said I could write an affidavit for 2,500. And anything that's soliciting the battery, let's say if there was a structure downwards to the zeros of what was the ravine of my property and my territory, I expect that multiple, or I'll embarrass you, and you'll be listed, and you will be on this list. You will be on the stupid list, and you'll be in a pediatric room if you so much as go to me as if that is a resolve. If I say something on the practical, it's usually because I say something, and it makes sense. It doesn't seem like the blockers on the neurodes of whatever connect, or the antibodies would be anything trying to communicate with you now. Personally, I see the damage, and then I say that for the amount of the 12.5k, I got to reiterate the success that it was sent there, and that 33% loss, and that does not represent that there's no representative of how much would be gained at that time, whether what was said about something omnious, the device, and what is being offered is saying that this smart investments. It doesn't have an API, which is like a key connection to metering to a keyboard or anything for like a code, like whatever kind of code, like Python, to make it so that they can do things within the means of that, to press the button back to use that, or something like that. I do not know. I know the best. I said maybe this is a $400 cup that was sent to this apology thing, because I looked at the other cups, and then I went thrifting, and in looking at those to take the picture of what I saw, it does say that the color of that is that. And how is that cringe? You're a piss off. I wish you could see the abstraction of the lesser person of you that finds comfort in what I said was the ravine of You're not even a player in my vicinity. Why do I have to prove the volume of what I've already gained by 33% to putting that at risk to define whatever? That's offensive. I'm going for a law power finish, and anybody who is within that 33% is at risk to looking like an idiot or getting fired. I wish it was the difference. You don't have an explanation or a signature on why you protect the law, then you're done. That's not. I'm not really seeing people who even try to go for a complete signature. How unreliable. And I was only defending a return of $1,000 on a short sale of the migration, which on that eToro plane, I do see somebody at some kind of 87, 85 percentage fulcrum of understanding, like they are adjusting at a 15 to 13% to create some sort of spear. So there is some sort of detection that on the eToro that there is somebody doing that. I said it was soliciting the conspiracy of social services to, which is not an explanation of a signature of not a crime, that it's related to something, and that they found an opportunity to try to be related to money, where I had made an Instagram thing, which I did not know that I was even getting anything, because I don't even get any results on that. Cringe, you piss off. Next time I see the dual diagnostics of your irony, there's nothing that really creates that French. I'm sorry. I don't really like being treated that way. The mindset is that I'm disassociative and sarcastic. I'm going to attempt to buy a BL on centralized wholesale cleaning with some pre-formal assistance on some easy conversation and laminations at all. And at any circumstances to anything that I've tried to English, it's not like that anybody takes the time to be phenomenal. Like, hey, I'm going to say the +1 words that you need on the +2, so the next time I go to you, I don't have to ask you for anything. Like, I call for this. By the first time that and there's an error in investments at the pancake swap, that I could get a 2,500 of the loss of at the 5,000, which it was at that time, then I would know what to do at that time instead of getting a military application to say to go get something scripted and then wait for the soliciting of the battery for me to be better than you, to wait for you to think that you're going to go across the street to go to the gym because you're a douchebag. Yeah, you'll piss off. It's just a matter of time before any space or whatever contingent to the space that you think that you're doing something that it does not romanticize, that maybe I do not create the environment, but supposedly so, that the only difference between Ruby Darien versus Emerald Darien is the deceit of 1/3 of his money. I don't care. You do not make comparisons on a simple moving average or the battery of the amounts here. If it was not adjusted to what you did on the ability of seizing material from each of the buys, then that would be the checklist, such as the vasectomy. Being in the way or not saying that on the contingent of hearing anything about the vasectomy to possibly not even operate the radio vasectomy would put that person on the battery of the conspiracy of any utility of using the name Darien in the bedroom, which is common, I guess. So that person is crazy. They are the person who got in my way at Michigan View is waiting to be on the list of extortion for attempted abuse and what pretty much just any type of extortion and manipulation, conspiracy in the confidence of what that licensure does to how that happened, what they did, and then any results on the return of any sort of car crash. And that's when we called Bernstein to help on our case, which we did call Oakley's Law Group, which did not get into the correct number. And if they do see this, the correct number was to call was 313-487-8856 or 8851, was the direct one, and if you do make a fatal error in the call and you're not in the correct administration, if it was possible with the phone numbers, which on the dial pad it is on the rundown of the calls, then you will be answered in a more serious way, because it is a department according to dial pad, and it is easier done like that. There's attempted expression of a third-party seizure of what money was attempted to do that, and on the responsibility of the actual happening of the ATF or the area field of what I would want to have been attended for, then I would not want to be attended for things that I could not Rubik's or fix and do that, and then I would not want to be caught into a pseudonym of love and or the love and war. Okay. I wanted to get the money back from Binance. I said, hey, on that subtraction, if you had ever done that, then if I created the number of 10,000 on that to that, which it was already owed at that time, that destabilizing the method and that I have a unique conspiracy of a metered financial model, like alpha model. There's alpha model. There's like one that's like a Lorien soul from League of Legends, but that from the time dated that there's a lot pointing to that my identity was related to a certain type of model. It's just a bit different. It has like a variable at the least and the most. The design of algos has not reached the full thing, and then it's just bad. It feels like execution models so lately, like minimizing things and all this stuff. These subtractions are at risk of what you intend to do and that you intended and that you press the button, and the person who presses the button, they're completely responsible. I want to get the money back from Binance and lock the door on any attempted DEX or cloud mining of your help with Help Me Out. Because I'm not going to be at law power or have a success in that if I'm at the inversion of being left-handed to operate myself. If I had given a recommendation as not to see that through, you would see at the minimal to what would be growth in an environment to do that. But it's like, what is an expression setting a benchmark to be below it? You know what? The dualistic part of unwanted girlfriend being first off, I do believe that it does show that I have a Google voice here. So when I see the speaking back to the Google voice, it's not in the essence of how I calculus what I'm trying to say. So if I'm trying to say something here, it could be as dumb as me saying it as if I'm not even able to say it. It's not really there. It's so opposite. It's so funny how annoying it is for that group to be around. So Best-Stein on a 2022-7/23, prior to that, decided to take a 1 or a 3-day vacation, or attempted to take a week vacation. Okay. Whether it was to pretend to be on the pretend time of when our M of U urology appointment is questionable, but I don't really see the character of the difference on that. We got all this other things of where it's more important to be stellar on something that wasn't associative. It's just like that one thing that makes it so I'm not offended of what I did beyond, what I could do to create that. That's incorrect. Treat it like an ASIC minor case. You do not want to be responsible for the weight of you attempting to make something a department when something was okay with it. Oh yeah, stepping on the foot of a predisposition of what you say to someone before it to have, remember, soul battery, soliciting battery in the attempt to not say anything about who you are is battery. It's a crime. You can't afford it. Do not do it. So with Bernstein attempted to be in the picture, and then Oakley's law group called on to communicate with the Lansing area. So I'm calling Bernstein at that time because if he doesn't, then at the time of the Michigan Urology appointment, that he was soliciting car crashes. Okay. It happens all the time, on a Tesla of doing something to stealing my money, to not making sense. That whole congealment of what my money had happened and anything that had spoken, and that Vicky Moran's friend at the Seminole Road had decided to say that she was willing to say it was 8,000 that was delivered to the Binance instead of 10,000 is putting them at risk, and they will have to take this cup. So during the investigation to see who they were talking to and how it was routed. And not the $400 cup, if that is a $400 cup. We talked to this person. Jake Mitchell's is the same number as the 436-4400, and Josh picks up the phone, doesn't say too much, and says that he's not responsible, and chooses to say that he's not responsible for the accounts. Then, who knows? There's an injunction with the character and why we hate 57 for what she did not do, and that it's just an unattachment to being utilized as somebody who's untrying to how they care, just a cheater, pretty much. Then being pushed to make an acronym of a different kind of society on the tents that was not manifested as their own identity, which is completely separate in a separate quest mentally. There's real stringent to what you say, and you're hardly your experience to what you think, Jessica Rachel Phillips or Yogi Shikagaru. So, on my claim, I named you Yogi Shikigaru. And on another claim, if you were to get in the way of that, then you would distinguish yourself as saying that the possibility of the attribute of Darian being a name in the bedroom was not true, and that you're right there. You speak it, you would have been speaking it from the point that it was requested and from the 27th, and that's where you'll be trialed. And so many other times. I'm sure that she has designs and that. Yeah, she will be talked to, and she's at risk. And anybody who had said something that being associative to what somebody wants to do, I'm like, we could have a bunch of hairy people show up, and then your decision on saying what. And then Darian's gonna be an a-hole to girls, since you don't want to let him live his life on his own terms, and thought it was more correct to do whatever. You didn't really do anything. You don't work on the interior of the Department of Failure Family. You loiter around people like this that we do not like Anna from Echoes, or whomever. There was what was another one that was real good? It says, "Hey Jake, I cannot let you go for the contentious, for the acceptable, for working in around something that at the time of the investment due 33%. If company claims smart trading at the time of risk over any amount like this, you can't leave thinking that was your last identity. I'm not doing your duty. Website, no explanation, not an answer. For a year looks like it would have to be reconstituted by 2000. Nobody thinks that cup is gold, so it does not represent a smart investment as an investor because you claim to be an account manager. By that time of helping to stop the losses, you have put yourself at risk. It won't be done until we have some language improvements on what are going on. We first need to find a uniformed lawyer, someone who doesn't find contentiousness minor in being content, a clear 2K sweep endangering the client, not servicing the client, a lawyer helping out, and maybe a money management company like Fisher to keep track of record." Fifth Third claimed that there was nothing like this in the chain to their account, which they did respond to the changes by maybe a marginal SMA account that possibly that they get paid for. The loan will be transferred to a different bank because of acting on your own. So could care less about the prior team also while working there for 3 years in a pseudo-existence in terms of humiliation of my fake employees, not all that needed to be treated poorly. They just have to show up and make the call and start to learn active speech, or you can do your best to not be listed and signatured like so. Jake Mitchell, and nobody really even sees this, and when it's done and that it's on your list to do, I don't really care. This is going to have to be put on you, and then we'll call to make a search to find you. And then for the case in California, said San Diego person came into contact with my little brother on the idea of a false mirror case of the Johnny Depp. So I'm pretty much, that's kind of like their morals on what they had done with that, and that they would have been associated to who was on my little brother's treatment would mean that not a lot of his character can pass, and he's not going to be really able to work unless I'm respected as an official department and paid. So either way, for the identity stolen and unfortunate that I should be owed in any way. And third party or not on data is not data, as in I have a hunch feeling, I think that I'm psychic. The order of these things does not make sense and does not tag to it being done, because unless pointed to click, then it is not done. Okay. And those things really don't mean anything. That I should be owed in any way and be treated nicer than ignoring the difference of your whatever. I expect someone returning a double amount so that they would not wager the risk of accountability, extortion, conspiracy, embezzlement, racketeering, laundering. Kelly Decker volunteered to help me out with a remark about the account who says it's not any of her problem. You can be acquainted and best friends along with Abigail Denise. These names should help. I respect you, but I got an ocean in the way, and it doesn't seem intentional when even on this platform. The conformity that was left behind, just a task burn of duty and removal. I keep getting a Josh figure picking up the phone, which I don't even say anything about, but that the results are so, like, epiphanally bad to them not being associated to the chain of my department, which it is a department. You say the name Failure Family, and it's a triangle, and there's just a method that is created, an algorithm of what to do. There's Kelly Decker, Shashin, a boy. They were attempting or claim theoretically attempting to explain theoretical something. Okay. Like a container of theoretical whatever, self or whatever. Okay. What an explanation. Ameria Bank, I expected that this person would have wanted to help, and it's like, you know, it's pathetic. Ameria Bank, it doesn't even have an English U.S. registration to get the bank on where the claim of that return is. I said to that echoes in Ameria Bank that they should be on American Greed for putting Ameria as an attempt to televangelist to Americans. My Russian Nova K at echoes.am. I'm like, come on, that's like a synonym for like John Doe, and they can't even help me out to figure something. That's embarrassing. Cody Banks is embarrassing. This is the only one that I see is taking like an Aaron Burnett attempt at fixing this, and I have no idea. She looks just like the FBI director, the other one. So I felt like if that case were to be worked on, that the battery of and the perfect Goldilocks of that not being associative to that, I mean, what is that? Longevity, Goldilocks environment itself. Seems like a collective of BS. You can all stay within your spherical pediatric environment until then. Off chains that I do sense that the 3 cups of the woe, and that that information I'm gonna pass through that area, and then I expect that gem to stay a gem and not be compromised. Is there any other information on the, and for any other means of communications, if there was ever a method that anybody ever believed there was more complicated ways to communicate than what you would social work as communication, then I was saying that different ways of saying that answer mode is like somebody saying something to somebody, and where the other person is submissive to listening to what is said, and that the person on answer mode continues to speak on what they are doing occupationally. Or like, I have this on taskbar to say, okay. That seems like, and that's not really fun. Something, it just don't feel right. This whole poetry on what you attempt to battery into other people, that because you're an unrefined item, I mean, my pond, harassing my pond, bugging my pond, what is wrong with you? And I wanted to show, hey, you know what? That I sit in the hot chair to listen to myself, with you pervasing what I say best, to be unrewarded by your equal metered presence, to put myself as being over the top, is a sacrifice that I do. And then you don't. You entering the room, sarcasm is not really of value. I don't like you. I want you delicensed from Value Family. Speaking English is what is appropriate, not having somebody like you. I don't want to be this image of what somebody was allowed to live in my area, on saying things that a creation of a model of licensures that was not the thing of the benefit of itself to continue, that any diagnosis is expected to have a month to time thing to be at a normalcy for a benchmark. No, I'm not even like optimistic. Well, I do have, there is that, I figured if I got a D, doing business as Value Family under that, then it'd be easier to create that connection. But I mean, withholding something that is rightfully mine is not that. And I do get that message time and time again. You're not protecting anyone, you're disdaining my rule, and it's not helping me out. It doesn't seem to help out health-wise. You have nutritionists, you don't even offer to buy a fridge. You barely have leniencies on how you act yourself into a whatever. What so by the soliciting battery of me about to talk about my paycheck, was it appropriate to have the acceptance of you saying that was okay? I don't really think so. I don't care if it was like it was untouched. Why would I say something to say something? On the inconvenience of what you meant and that you could have spoken anything within that area, you owe the same amount in double to prove that you'll go away. Or you can have the left-handed society rule whatever you're doing right now. So you can have a neurotic girlfriend who really can't find herself because that was competitive when you took ownership of my rightful status. Just like in a bad way of the options that I would have between being frustrated at the water system, there's another pedigree of where I would either do one thing or one thing, and it's kind of it reached that high extremity of extortion. I'm gonna put it like this: there's a degree of where I would have never said anything that I said in a replaced future diary world that I'm in right now, and that the CNA of the inversion of being able to be myself wouldn't create an infraction on somebody else's life on what was assumed. That's not a normalized. Darian is good at investing. You take Darian, 33% of Darian, and then you normalize a variable from a toilet overlay over Darian's mouth, over Darian saying something that he doesn't want and then getting it. You don't have thyroid issues. The degree of what you're saying that you find acceptable to what you've done is unbelievable. Does anybody want to come forward on their their survivability, and that Darian has no sex life, that you had endangered some people because you had done that like that way, and that within that time of saying that? The metering of an animal to Darian is not the complexity of the law, so I don't care if you have there's a pocket of whatever. If Half-Life is the memory of what's not understood and that breaks the game, then that's that. Okay. I wish Darren spoke in a different way. I wish. So why is this person in ruby mode versus the emerald mode? Or on the bending of the law, what are the securities that Darian doesn't go to jail in this kind of mode? Pretty much, I I that something beyond what is facts is like that it's still being seen as that I am not the value of the item. That's offensive. That's somebody acting on their own. They're expected to return, and people like that are not expected to act on their own. And anything contriving Darian's place, and that there should be somebody saying what Darian wants, and wants to the value to secondarily get those things. See, when I'm creating a shape and it's like the 0 to the 1, let's say I'm asking myself, like I am the center, and then I'm doing a 1 and switching that out to create a triangle structure or any structure that I'm not looking to collect zeros on the interior, because that's some weird shape. Who is willing to admit to doing something wrong and fix the issue? I love how you think that I'm gonna let you speak about something that is sarcastic. You are not gonna consider me that much in my own vicinity and my own property, to the point of whatever this is. I said, well, so once this is here, I feel it's going to be way better because I'll be able to sit on the edge of the bed and look at this. I got an AC adapter, and I swear I was going to make it look like Robert Graham's area, just the whole fade, the whole, what is it, color hue, and then doing that and switching that, and just, yeah, pretty much. It's difficult. Oh well, once you have that up, and then plants, and then it's 260 for a wall pulley system to finish the top. The surface of covering this area for this one is 90 plus 20 for a corner. So 96 plus 20, so it's 1 something like that. And then, like I said, I'm gonna take a fire axe to get rid of that area. I think it is actually 26 foot by 26 foot. So by the comparison of by what is behind me, so that's cool. So then later in the crossover of it being in like an e-boy to a crutch on, like, I don't know, a downtown alleyway, to being into like HG or Kristen McGowan and stuff like that, or Nick Owens, to be like that. There was this like definity of some kind of metering of what I feel contentious of myself, and the barring abstraction of those things, and then setting the budget to get those derivatives back into place is how I kind of feel about that. That the first part's a report, and then the next part is that. So I think I am being like koshered when I do go for my drive, and I don't think it's a regret because I changed the ignition coils. No, I changed the spark plugs, and then if I did it and then I did bump something, or that there was a model issue, the thing is that the 3 things on the jacket of the chest plate, So I think of the alien mother and the chest, like I said, and then they have the 3 things in there, and then you get this certain one that has like a magnetic thing to pull this out, or it gets a rubber to get that. I would prefer the magnetic one, and even with the dust and that. Anyways, I switch those out, open spark plugs, and then you get what sometimes was called the injectors, but is the ignition coils. So the arrows, or the wood on the arrows to switch, and then doing that, putting that in, and then it was on the 5th instead of the first one, which was on the first reading was on the first. Switched on that, and then it's an O2 sensor on it. So I'm like, wow, dude, I must have, like, in the cool dynamics of the, what do they call that? There's a girl that thinks, I'm so cool to find the acceptable of the associative of letting somebody go off with the animatronic of Darien. That's not what they got going on. That is a tribute for what you had done. Okay. There's no such thing as some kind of gallantry of some Harry Potter gallantry that somebody's gonna allow you to do that without you claiming that you had done it. You could use data analytics for that. You can say what you intended on doing, where it is, how you were doing it, who it was. You'll be a movie maker instead of a director. How about that? So anyways, on the Darien famous saying of not having a name associated to furniture, let's look at Mellow 14. If I wasn't able to do something to say that I was doing it, then I wouldn't want to be the person to say that I was objecting at the time, to say that I was doing that to someone. But now you have done something to me, and I add some kind of metronome of dividends and responsibility that I have attended and you have not. I don't just want to be stuck with some girl who does not make sense and then found themselves in a crisis of what they decided to do. They think that they are the bad girl situation. That is a whole different section on the wedge of how that was distributed and how that makes sense and how or whatever. That's difficult. I feel that I used to be smart, and now it seems pretty difficult to be worth anything lately. It's so funny for you to almost be ungrateful to me have to shutting that down. Oh, you should. I do not really believe in sarcasm, and on the O2 sensor of connecting my body to my vehicle, I did not really find that appropriate. I think this would be a good one because the industrial squares of this, it's related to the O2 sensor. The way that he talks too much, the pressure, when is that associative to what a person should be like? Or frickin' there's a cuttlefish or some kind of Cthulhu creature inside of my left eye. Or some kind of worm or something. Or my eye had so much pain that it has its own areas of living. Nah, it is something. It's not fun to be associated to a horror on your body. I felt that I was the most rational, and now it's going through the gates of hell to figure. Don't mess with my company. It's a state defense just on being rational and centralized to not have explanations of selling people in volume. So okay. At this point, which I have seen, okay. Being like, I can offer you the greatest deal on what I am desperate for, the reason that I did it is what we're looking to find. Why you wanted to give a good deal, or what you're willing to do to get a good deal. or what you were willing to say to another person to attempt that it was a good deal. Please, have a complete resolute that you never attempt to do something to somebody, so you never find yourself deep in the underworld again, to not have a signature to why you're like yourself. Every time you do that, you put me in danger to being a Tokyo respondent to the levels that I should not have to have been associated with. Putting that there, that is gonna look really good, and it's 100, but you've been doing like $3 at the vending machine times 10, and then the budgets on what you said are sort of real on that, so that sucks. I'm like, you should probably just be like a thinner and on a sandwich bag to get that on your shoulder to do that. But man, those derivatives, they're important. If your behaviors change on your derivatives to what is set, then those multipliers have to change. We're working on, this is a different compounded thing to going to the store, finding the ROI to multiply of our virtual system, the 100 shirts, when you find a deal, timesing it by, so the first thing is what it sells for, how much it costed, and then how much it will cost to ship, and then remembering how much you paid for the ROI, and then the multiplier to get to the number to how much it would be to get to that number is the multiplier. Like $24, let's say it costs $3, then so that's 17, and then 3 to 14, and then it costed 4, so 4 times 3.5, so 350, but we don't really go by that to what we compare to the corner of the mass, so it'd be like 3.5, and then if you set your multiplier to 3, then you'd be like, if I buy $100 of product, then I know I made 300 profit, or that I set 100. That's like the complicated triangle of how I saw that. That's a good one. Oh, people who disrespect. If I ever got the respect of what my words to what I wanted, then people who found ROI and paid per period. And I was thinking that there's going to be a come around because the value on the claim is funny on the deliberate of what laundering means. I mean, you can't afford laundering. There's no place for you. That it's real expensive. That why are these items the same value? Elderly maybe, or humility. Please make it e-boy, and please, there's no accountability to the 100 of the snail of your item to fix that, to have that, for me to be the 50 cavalier of my snail to be like that. But nice plants right next to the thing like that, and that it's industrial and then painted all white, and that the angle of how I would have been there, and that we'll have some really good sheets. I did have a paper that I got in. So I got an AC power thing, and it did work to turn on the new TV. The new TV looked good. It's 38 by 22 in the interior of the screen. So that's my new standard. Like right here, and it's like, well, it's not a good comparison to have it like in the center. It's like right there. It's real psychological though. I think some of the crystals from this, that's real random sometimes, but what else have we been doing? Well, I saw the on the Christmas list of myself, the Jamoro thing, and I had a different. I find myself able to sit, like when I'm browsing or looking at, I feel appropriate enough that I'm allowed to stay and have the correct etiquette to take the time to put myself there, and I don't want myself to diminish. So when I get, so it's about me being able to be in places, so I use rooted, stay in the area at the thrift, and then continue to do what I'm trying to do. And that makes it so I learn how to combat the area, because a previous self would be like, I find myself aloof in the air and anxiety that I exist in these actions of what I do that as, and then where if I stay still, then I focus on what I'm doing better. So that can help sometimes. It's very being pan-faced. So we got most of this list. So it says multi-towels, shower, as like shower dragon, 106, and the 96-inch cloth was to be on the roof right there, and then I'm going for what my unknown of an Armeria cloth, mermaid whisper-esque type kind of velvet Samson room, kind of. If I do that, and then maybe something that is like a big Greek god, after I'm less of a miniature demigod and more kind of where I want it to be. Home organizers, and then minimalization, hobbies, and then making sure the arms of everything that I'm possible to do is in contrast to the calculus of where I want to be on this off-put of where I am. Like I've opened my arms in reverse to what I say by offering my deal. I know it looks bad, but when it's known that I am the general manager of what I'm offering, then you can see that, you know, there's a nice green and Benjamin, nice soothing color of learning finance. And I know removing some of the stuff because it's a very strong point of what seems that, even though that is a good thing, and then changing the color of that following the home good thing. I mean, there's nothing that suggests like it's difficult for me to see that somebody could figure out a better option that doesn't seem like English 50 courtship of what is normal to conversate. Like it is an ignored conversation of how I had seen that. I swear if some of the things look, even though that is some pretty much true, it just felt like the squaring of the numbers seemed kind of unhealthy. Some better white lighting, scrubbing that, it's taking my self-recovery to learning how to clean everything, to getting everything alright. This room I really do not touch because it is complete. And then those were horrible pictures, and these were some new ones of the more open space and how it is like. It does seem like we have to work on some of those with the 200, like we have a 200 extenuary budget to doing stuff like improvement. Like I like to do like 100, like going to 100 on thrift, and then maybe 100 on, and then kind of like 50 within the HG realm, and then kind of seeing it there. And hopefully sprawling out. I really do not like that somebody thought it was okay to give me the issues with that. So if I know it's pretty bad because, you know, but you know, I'm still here. I'm still in this building. How I'm being treated, like not being connected to what you're doing is embarrassing. I would rather be in my situation on the equal versus being you saying what I'm doing is incorrect, not being anything. That's kind of being over conceited and paralyzed on how I don't know about that. It's kind of so annoying that the ocular of decision making is adjusted on this. It's okay. It's good. It's fixed. And then we were going to get a Lasco fan to improve that. I said having something seem more commercial is having something in threes. 2 seems like it's intended to be a pair. 3 seems like it's commercially kept. So 3 of those ones somewhere around and the fan and keeping that alright. Then that's pretty much all that I have for this area. We'll just close our eyes, meditate on what we really think. This area's gone, it's completely square, it's extended a bit. Our resolution to get this done. On the fear of the drop of what that is on the car, I think that maybe the possible fix is, yes, that ignition, well, first, see, it's there and we talk about it, so we have to accept that that is on our dual diagnostics and we have to continue with that. Then extending upon that to be there and that it's alright and that we don't find ourselves in the mind that maybe a wood corner of some wood items of a certain type of wood and some kind of cleanliness level creates it so we don't act that way. That the raising bed adds plants and those plants make us feel better, or that maybe, who knows, maybe a cat, maybe somebody understanding the value of 300 a month to the comparison of what I would make. That's somebody who's, there's less odds of not succeeding. I don't play with people who are over reliant on their parents. I'd rather see people who are ready to step on the field of the devil's playground. That don't need their parents, that don't need to have connections to the stipulant of themselves. Else, I didn't get any reward from making this video, so I really hate making videos. I just want the other part to be done. I feel like the police department thinks that these things just happen, and you stolen it from me. You're in my department being funny. Okay. I'm not the back heel of a car's gas pedal, and I'm looking for people like that. I hope somebody covers our neck next time, so that that's not really an explanation that there's any translation of any benefit to talking. I mean, that's not the devil's towers. That's not my vision. I'm just personally I don't know. I'm just mad. Today I found a cap 35 weight thing attachment, and I was like, wow, that's a great deal. 2 for $10. It was like a 200 brand new, which is like, you know, 100 probably for sale for that, and then that for just not being in that way. And then that got me interested into diamond collecting. So if I ever find one, which is a big difference, the difference is like from moissan is like a tenth of what a diamond is to the carat, and the carat weight to a comparison is like, I don't know, is it like, if you were to pretend to put down a carat, what does it feel like? Kind of like that. That was like, that felt like 3, if that was what 3 feels like. Oh. Well, I'm gonna go take a shower and be mad. Mad, mad, mad.